Okay, so by now you should be seeing my slides. And okay, so let me start talking about the web. There is this. It's very common that we use this word web and we use the word internet, and sometimes it's not very clear the differences between the two, but they are very different, right? The internet and the web, they are completely different ideas. They are very connected, but they are different. Um, so basically, the web, as we call it, like www for short, right? It was invented by Tim Berners-Lee in 1989, and and the definition of the web is an information system where documents and other resources are identified by uniform resource locators or URLs, which may be interlinked by hypertext and are accessible over the internet. So I like to put this slide here just to clarify that the web is this infrastructure running on top of the internet. And what is this? So when you think about the web, you should think about web pages, web servers, and HTTP protocol. So those are the major tools or major technology that the web is made of. So back in the before the web, we actually had internet and people would communicate with their own protocols, but there was no kind of common way. If you were, let's say, if you were in Europe and someone else was in the US, there was no common protocol to communicate. So people had to agree before, and every single application would have to create its own communication protocol. Now that you have the web, we have this common standard that everyone can communicate, and this made our lives much easier. And even the applications now on the internet, they all use the same protocol, so we can have servers anywhere and pages anywhere, and everything just works. But this wasn't the case before, right? And so, as I mentioned, when you think about the web, you should mainly think about some tools like the browser, web servers, and web pages, and some protocols. So and actually some languages. So you have, for example, the HTML is a language that was written also as part of the web description, and also the HTTP protocol and this idea of URLs. So, and a web page is this document. I'm gonna just define these things very fast because I think it's useful, but I won't spend much time here. So a web page is this document that's suitable to act as a resource on the web, and it can have many different type of content like text, images, and videos, and so on. Web server is a software that stores, processes, and delivers these web pages to browsers. And the web browser is the software application that display the web pages. We all use web pages and this service every day on our phones and our computers. So here's an example of a very simple web page. So here, for example, on the right hand side, you get the rendered page that is written with the left hand side HTML. So I'd like to go ahead and discuss a little bit of the structure of this web page, because every single HTML web page or every single web page has the same very similar structure. What I mean by that is it is a web page is made out of tags, where the root tag or the first tag is the HTML tag, and then you always have two children tags, which are the head and the body, right? And the head of the HTML is where you have metadata of the page, and the body has the major content. And let me stop here and actually write a simple web page. And here we're gonna wait. Okay, so here we can write one from scratch, and I can show you how I actually do these things and what tools I use. So I use this text editor called Atom. It's an open source software. So it's an open source text editor. It has many plugins. It's developed or started, is a community started around GitHub. So it's maintained mainly by GitHub. And it's interesting because it's multi-platform. It's actually written using HTML, JavaScript. So this is actually a web application that looks a lot like an app native app for Apple or for the Mac or Windows, but it actually at the bottom is just a web page that it's made in a way that looks like an application. So it's very nice and flexible because of that. And there's many plugins. And I like how clear it is, but at the bottom, you actually have a lot of really good, cool features. So I suggest that. There's also Sublime text editor and many others. So we can start a thread on Piazza to discuss this if you all want. But let me go ahead and start an HTML web page, which again, as I said, the first tag you always write is the HTML tag, and then inside that you have a head, and every tag starts like this. So you start with like greater and less equal. Greater or less than, and then to close the tag, you have to put this slash like this. But every tag has the same structure. You open and close. If you don't do that, you get a syntax error. So here is the head, and here, let's make our body here. Right? I'm just gonna save this file for now and see what happens, okay? So I'm gonna save this in anywhere, let's say, I'm gonna make here, so you have fall, let's make a new folder here, fall 2020. And then I'm gonna call this another one, assignment 0. And here I'm gonna call this just a common name for your main web page. Imagine a big web system, let's say Facebook. Facebook, it's a website that has many web pages in it. It has many different HTML documents. So the main HTML document is normally called index. And this, I'm gonna call it index.html because of that. So if I save this, my text editor here now highlights the tags because it knows it's an HTML tag, it's an HTML file now. And I get some nice project visualization here. So let me open that. I'm gonna open that file in the browser, okay? Let me just drag and drop here just to make sure I open the same window. Okay, so this is it. It's blank, there's nothing, right? But it's a page. And I'm accessing this page from this directory here. So there's already some interesting things happening. If you look at the beginning of this URL, it starts with file, colon, and then slash, the directory, right? If you get a normal web page, any web page on the web is going to start with HTTP or HTTPS colon slash. Right? This means that we are actually retrieving this page from a web server. This URL starts with file. This means that we are reading directly from our disk, from the computer system, and this has some implications. But I'm not going to talk about them right now. What I want to show is our simple content. Let's put some content in this page so we see something in there, right? So I'm going to start with this tag P, which is a paragraph, and this is going to be say like hello CSC 160. So now we get this paragraph there, right? I'm not going to do more than that for now, but you could just type, if you remove this tag and if you type text in there without any tag, the browser also renders that text and might have a cache. I'm gonna open my console here just to make sure that I'm not, yeah, okay, not cached. Anyway, so you see it looks the same because when you render like open free text like this, the browser is going to render it as text, but it's not formatted text. So there's no format. It's just a standard format that the browser implements. So different browser might have different formats. For example, the font in Chrome might be different than the default font in Internet Explorer or on Firefox. Okay. So, well, this is our first web page. It's, again, there is the body and the head. What do we put in the head? Okay, one of the probably the most common thing to put in the head is the title. So this is the title of the page. And here we're gonna say assignment 0. What is this title? Let's refresh the page. If you look here on my tab, right now I have the assignment 0 string. This is the title of the page. So this is this is what you get when you open a new tab. You get that simple description there. That's the title, the short description. Sorry. Okay, this is all very simple. There is other stuff that you're gonna put in the head. You're gonna include files from the head or the body, and let's get this like more interesting. Any questions? I'm assuming this is like super simple for everybody, but feel free to ask any questions. Okay, let's move forward. So yeah, so in this example, we have the title. We also had some style in there. I'm going to talk about this later. But here you also have an image tag that is the cyber slug image, right? You can have images and having with different sizes and so on. There's there's a lot of different content you can put. There's many tags available in HTML. I won't spend time talking about all of them here, so I recommend you looking up. There's, I think, if you want to look it up, like HTML documentation, the most common one is the W3 School. This website is kind of one of the major points of resource on the web for web development. So here you're gonna get, if you want to learn more about all the tags available in HTML, you should refer to this website. There's also the Mozilla Foundation website that is very, very good. Okay, so let's talk about style. For example, if you want to change the style of your content, you're gonna use a different language, which is called the cascading style sheets, or for short CSS. So these are the kind of the foundations of web development, which HTML you use for writing content and CSS you use for writing style. I think a decade or two ago, maybe 2 decades ago, CSS wasn't a big thing. People would write style in their own way in HTML, and now we have a very clear way of separating these things, and it's more than ever the default way of writing styles or changing the style of your website. So let me show you an example of CSS. So there is 2 ways of writing style. I'm gonna refer to this slide here so you can see. I'm gonna literally copy this here. Let's see if it works. Yeah. So you can write style using the style tag in your head, in your head, in the head of the website. So in here, the way it works is, let me kind of erase this. The way it works is you're gonna have a tag here. Let's say, for example, the paragraph. And you need a way, for example, if you want to change the font size of this paragraph, right? Because this is a formatting question. Oh, I want to change the font style. I want to change the font size, or the aligned. I want to vertically align this thing with some other element, or so on. If you want to change how this thing is displayed, basically, you need to be able to refer to this paragraph. Like how do I access this paragraph as a style? So you can say here P. This is the notation or the syntax. You say P for paragraph, and then you open and close your curly brackets. And then there's many different attributes you could change. For example, from the slides, you can see we have this text align or font size. So let's change font size. So font size, let's say 24. So, And this 24 is in points. There's other units you could use, but let's just keep it simple and say font size 24. If you want to have extra more style changes or change other style attributes, you can just use semicolon and keep writing other changes. So let me save this now and see what happens. So I'm going to refresh my page, and now you get a bigger font. Okay. And again, the attributes you can use for each specific tag. I don't have time to go over those, and there are many of these attributes. Again, refer to the documentation, like either from the W3C schools or from Mozilla. They have a list of all these tags and all the styles you can change, and each tag might have a specific attribute that you can change, right? The paragraph is obviously you can change font size and font family and all of that. Let's do another example, and maybe from the slides again, I'm gonna do the text align center for the body. So here now changing the whole body of the website. If I do this, if I do this, basically this rule here, let's call this a rule, or this is going to be applied for the whole body or for the whole website. And it's important to keep in mind that because P is inside body, P is going to inherit the rules from body. So basically, if you have nested elements, the children elements, they inherit all their parents' rules. So this is a nice way of you. So it's important to keep that in mind, because that helps you to implement your CSS rules. Like you can organize your objects or your tags in a way that you can minimize the amount of rules, because you know that they're going to get inherited. But it's important. Let's see that happening. So now I'm changing the body, and let's see what happens here. So if you see now, our text is centered on the screen. If you had other elements, let's say, for example, let's put an image here. I'm going to use the image tag. I'm going to say image, and the image, you say source of the image. We have to give a path in the file. So let me look it up, like a cat image. And I'm gonna get this. I think I've used something like that. I'm gonna save this image. Okay, this one, if a mask is better. I'm gonna save this image in the same directory. So fall assignment. I like to, when I'm storing images, I like having new folders like this. I like having a specific folder like this. Just say, let's say cat, and this is a JPEG file. Okay, so I'm gonna save this. And okay, our image is there. So what I'm gonna say is here, go back to the code, and I'm say images /cat.jpg. So this should be, now we should see an image on our website. Refresh the page. There you go. It's here, full resolution, right? It's taking the original size of the image. So let's just rescale this so we can apply some rule to the image. So I'm gonna say here, image. I'm gonna say here width, I don't know, 200. And if I wanna say like this is pixels, so I can use px here for referring to pixels. I wanna highlight that this is pixels. So now I got this tiny 200. The width now is 200 pixels. The height got adjusted accordingly. You could also specify the height here, but let's keep it simple. Actually, I'm gonna 200 is not too big. I'm gonna put 400. Okay, now we have a text and an image, but see what happened, right? Both of my image and my paragraph, they're all like centered now because my body, I set the text align to be centered. And so this whole thing got centered. And any other, if you add more information, more content, everything is going to be centered. Okay, any questions so far? Okay. Moving forward, another comment here is that imagine if your website grows and grows and grows, this style like information can get very big, and this file also gets very big, and then at some point it's hard to read and edit. So it would be nice if you could have all this information in a different file, and indeed we can. So we can create here a new file, you can call it, for example, index.css, or you can call it, let's say, just style.css. You can give the name you want. And we don't need to use the tags because the tags are part of the HTML, but you just copy the inside. And now we just save it. We can remove this tag, but now we have to import that style document. And to do that, we can use this line here, link. I'm going to copy it, paste it here. And it has, normally you're going to write these 3 attributes. And this one REL is just saying that this is a link to a style sheet. The type of it is a CSS type. And then href is the location of that file. So I'm going to say style.css. And basically, we're going to have the same result probably because we just removed our CSS. Yeah, so we worked. And just to make sure it worked, let me change the image of the screen, of the size of the image, so we see some effect. 100 pixels. Yeah, there you go. So now we have our CSS separated, which is very nice and makes the whole web page very clean. You only keep your content here. And this is a very good way of writing web pages. This is probably what you need to know in this class regarding HTML and CSS. We won't be creating crazy good-looking web pages. This is not the main idea of this course, but it's nice to give you an introduction and just let you know what you can do, and so you can be creative. And specifically, if you're interested in having a nice, let's say, portfolio of graphics applications, I suggest that you spend some time making your pages a little bit, like, looking a little bit better. Because if you're showing this to people, or let's say if you're in an interview, or if we encourage you to keep this online, so then it's a very nice way of putting your work outside and getting feedback from people. But we won't grade you on your styles or even like in the structure of the page. We're gonna grade you based on the features that you have implemented. Okay, I think that's it about CSS. I'm gonna move forward, and feel free to ask questions